I wish to call to order this meeting of the Monroe County Board of Commissioners. It is Wednesday, July 31st on a hot, muggy day. I will note for the record that Commissioner Jones and I are present in the Nat U Hill Room, and Commissioner Thomas can be seen virtually online. We'll start with our public statement. We, the Monroe County Board of Commissioners, renew our commitment to welcome and protect the rights of all people, regardless of age, race, color, creed, disability, sexual orientation, gender, gender identity, marital status, economic status, and national origin. And we affirm the right of every person to live peacefully and without fear. And we will fight and resist at every step discrimination and harmful policies, whatever their source. We also stand in support of our county public school systems, both RBB and MCCSC. And I believe we want to change our agenda a little bit. Do you have a motion?
Move to delay item 2 until next week.
W. Item W, the ordinance 2024-29.
I thought we hadn't settled that.
Sorry.
Quite. All right, let's move to remove ordinance 2024-29, the convenience smart rezone. That's item W from the agenda.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to delay this. Is there any public discussion on this item? The reason for the delay is that at this point we can't confirm that there is sewer and water hookup. In fact, I understand that that was denied by the Board of Public Works. And we need to know if it is viable for them to have septic out at that location. So hopefully we can work with the folks and get that taken care of. So at this time, we'll move on to department updates. Is there someone available from the health department? And our screen isn't working.
Oh, okay. Good morning, commissioners. I am here from the health department. So just a few updates. Emergency room visits for COVID-like illnesses have continued to increase slightly as of July 23rd, but we have not seen any increases in wastewater concentrations. August is National Immunization Awareness Month, which highlights the importance of vaccinations for all ages. Our public health clinic has vaccines available. You can call 812-353-3244 for more information.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Commissioner Jones?
No, don't.
Commissioner Thomas?
No, thank you.
I just wondered if you have any timeline for when we'll be getting in the flu and COVID vaccines for this year.
We have not heard as of yet, but hopefully we'll be hearing within the next couple weeks of when to expect those.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Are there any other department updates at this point? We have our emergency management director with us this morning. Good morning, Jamie.
Good morning. I just wanted to provide a brief update on the debris pickup. If TSD could please pull up the press release I sent. We have an updated calendar. So we're finishing up in Perry Township. There's a bit of a punch list going on today, and we've also began pickup in Van Buren Township.
Excellent.
Yeah, so Van Buren Township starts today and goes through August 7th. And then Clear Creek will start the 7th through the 14th. Richland and Bloomington Township will go the 14th through the 21st. Salt Creek will be the 21st through the 28th. Polk will be the 28th through September 4th. And the 5th, running through that next week, will be the catch-up week, where we try to pick up anything that we've missed along the way.
Big undertaking. Comments or questions?
Just thank you for putting all of this together. I know that a lot of people are really appreciating it.
Commissioner Thomas?
I just want to thank Ms. Nibel for being so attentive to the needs of our residents. She's worked really hard to address specific questions, so thank you.
This schedule was also printed yesterday, I think, in the Herald Times, and it's up on, is it on your webpage or the county's main webpage? Where can people find this if they want to refer back?
Both places, also social media.
Excellent.
Yeah, and we've tried to put it out, we've at least sent it out to all the radio stations and media pages as well, so. And sent it to the township trustees just in case, because I know they tend to field a lot of questions as well, so.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Are there other department updates? We have our GIS coordinator here. Hi, Dr. Batten.
Hello. So I've got two updates for everybody today. The first is that our one of our primary GIS interfaces, which is Elevate, is being deprecated by Schneider Geospatial, and that's the company, the third-party software that runs it. It's being transferred to a new interface called Beacon, which is a kind of a parallel platform for spatial data. We're working with Schneider right now to make sure that Beacon is kind of organized in a way that's going to cause minimal disruption for county government employees as well as the broad public. I'm working with different departments to make sure that the layers that they want are on there. I'll also be going around and doing trainings to county employees as well as the general public too, as this transition happens. These two sites will be living side by side, both live at the same time for a number of months until we're ready to say, okay, we're comfortable enough with Beacon, we can get rid of Elevate. Again, this is not our decision. This is Schneider Geospatial's decision. We found out about it about a month ago, and so we've been kind of like working diligently to make sure that we know that the interface is going to be functioning. We know the interface is going to be what we want, and it's going to be reliable to the general public. So that's kind of update number one. The second update is that we were recognized in the GIS division for an Excellence in GIS award from the state, from the Indiana Geographic Information Council, for our website, which is a public-facing application that has a ton of different kind of resources for the public, ranging from parcel data viewers to a social vulnerability index, multiple layers of imagery, and different types of data sets that people have been really enjoying. As of today, we've had over 70,000 hits on our internal website, and a lot of this is due to the support of the commissioners who have expanded our licensing agreements, the support of the council who has created a technician position, which has allowed us to kind of broaden our scope, and then also the support of the surveyor who, oh, he's right here, who had a few things to say as well. But yeah, I just wanted to say that we've been recognized, and so some good news from the GIS division. Thank you.
Congratulations. And when Beacon is up and running, I hope you'll come and give a small demo to all of us as well.
Yeah, most certainly.
Thank you.
The main goal on that is to get the message out so everyone can be aware that we will migrate to Beacon at some point. But I did want to mention about the award. On the hub, it hosts a lot of different applications, and a lot of those applications are developed by different departments and offices across the county. So it really highlights what folks are doing here in Monroe County. And John touched on it. Without the support that we have received by the commissioners, the council, other elected officials, department heads, we wouldn't have been able to grow our GIS program as we have. And I think we're on the right track, and this award, it just kind of reflects that. So I just wanted to come here and say thank you, and also let the public know what we're up to. So thanks.
Congratulations. Thank you very much. Any other department updates? I'd like to give an update to my colleagues on the convention center. Last week, I attended 2 sessions where the designers and architects for the expansion of the convention center did presentations to different groups. They have decided the Capital Improvement Board has been working very hard and very fast, basically. They've decided that they will go east with the expansion, which is great news. They have put out requests for bids, or concepts, rather, for hotels. They've gotten, I forget whether it's 5 or 6 of those. The footprint for the expansion will be 60,000 feet, which will include a 30,000-foot ballroom kind of set up with very, very high ceilings. They're talking 30-foot or higher ceilings on the inside, which is pretty remarkable. But you need that for some of the activities that they envision going on inside there. If they have sort of a sit-down meal, the space should be able to accommodate 2,000 people. And if it's more of a concert thing where people are just sitting in chairs, they envision that it could hold 3,000 or perhaps more people. They plan to have separate kitchens in the what will become two wings, and that way if they have two different things going on simultaneously and have different kinds of setups, it'll be easier to accommodate that. So the planning is moving forward. Other groups I know, after I left one of the groups I was in, some of the chamber folks came and sat down with them. So it was encouraging to see all the different groups that they're bringing in to kind of bring up to speed. They were asking for different input, and people were saying, well, make sure that we have things like recycling and stuff like that going on. So I wanted to share that with my colleagues and with the general public. So I'm very pleased to see that going on.
Do you happen to know what kind of activity requires a 30-foot ceiling?
You know, I heard and now I forget. I'm sorry. It was one of the kind of sports things. Perhaps someone else can fill us in on that. But I'll check my notes, let you know. Is there any other department update at this point?
I did want to just offer a quick update on the jail facility. We are continuing our investigation of North Park. We expect about the third week of August to receive this phase 2 environmental study results. And although no decision has been made yet about the location, this is the only site we are actively researching at this time. And we are looking forward to hopefully soon having a meeting with ourselves, the Board of Commissioners, the council, the presiding judge, and the Sheriff's Department to talk about the size and scope of the facilities. So that's the update. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, if there are no other department updates, let's move on to public comment. This is for items that are not on the agenda. We ask that you limit your time to 3 minutes and let us know your name and whether or not you're a resident of Monroe County. And that you can make those comments either here in the Nat U Hill room or virtually. I don't see anyone with their hand up virtually. No one's come forward here. So let's move on to approval of the minutes. I'm sorry.
I am?
Yeah, please. Okay.
Thank you. Move approval of the minutes for June 20th, 2024, a joint session of the Council and Commissioners, June 25th, 2024, an executive session of the Council and Commissioners, July 11th, 2024, a joint session of the Council and Commissioners, and July 17th, 2024, the Commissioners' meeting.
I will second that, but I question whether we should continue the first 3 meetings listed because the joint sessions and executive minutes, because they are a bit unclear regarding attendance. And then I would just second that we consider the commissioner meeting minutes for July 17th.
So I had questions about some of that also. And what happened with the joint sessions was that the council approved all of those on their meeting of July 23rd. And so that's why there are the specific signatures are there, because those folks were at the July 23rd council meeting. So I don't know if there are other problems that.
Yes.
Go Go ahead.
I did happen to notice that on one of them, one sentence said that I was present, and the very next sentence said I was not present, or it may have been the other way around. So maybe take a look at that.
Do you remember which of the meetings that was? I didn't catch that.
It
I'm
was
sorry.
one of the joint sessions.
I sent that to Anita as well.
Okay.
So since the council's already approved those, will that need to go back to the council for that correction? Or what has to happen? Mr. Cockrell, do you have any advice?
I think if you got a corrected version, we would certainly share it with the council, and then they would take the action they deem appropriate.
Okay. I believe you were at that meeting.
I was. I've been at all of those
Yes.
meetings.
Yes. So with that correction then, are there any other comments or questions about these?
I'll go ahead and second the whole slate of 4 minutes then.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Well, with that then, Mr. Cockrell, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Githens,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Motion is approved, 3-0.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Move approval of the claims docket, accounts payable July 31st, 2024, and payroll July 26th, 2024.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second, and we have Ms. Gregory here with us. Good morning.
Good morning. Okay, the accounts payable claims docket for July 31st totals $13,737,415.07. That includes all emergency claims and adjustments. And then the payroll docket for July 26, 2024 totals $2,412,691.70. And that includes direct and indirect costs.
Comments or questions?
No, I don't.
Commissioner Jones or Commissioner
No.
Thomas? That was a really long claims to review this week.
Yes, those, when we had the network outage, there were many claims that had to be voided and reissued. So that contributed to the lengthy packet.
It's not fun. Yes. And I do appreciate the fact that you were able to take care of things.
Thank you.
So quickly. Is there any public comment on these items? Seeing none, I'll call for approval of the claims docket. Mr. Cockrell, will you again call the roll?
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Githens,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Motion is approved, 3-0.
Thank you. I will note for the record that we have a report from the clerk of the circuit court. And I talked with the treasurer last evening. She indicated she will try to have her report for June to us quickly, but this server disruption also delayed a few things for her. So with that, let's go on to the next item, please.
Move approval of ERS wireless federal warning siren quote, fund name 2022 GO bond, fund number 4815, in the amount of $39,465.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Would you like to tell us about this? Good morning again.
This is kind of where public safety and nature have collided. So the siren pole at the American Legion has been waging a war with woodpeckers. The woodpeckers have damaged this pole quite extensively to the point where we had to disconnect the siren from the electric so that it does not activate at this moment. There was a concern, excuse me, that the rotation might cause it to fall. Although it did withstand the windstorm from the June 25th storm, so that is a good thing, but there's a lot of damage to this pole, so much so that I did have a structural engineer come to evaluate it, and he could not give it a green light for safety. So we do have parking spaces blocked off at the American Legion right now, and it's causing quite a bit of a disturbance in their business. So we are looking to expedite this replacement for them, for safety and for them as well.
Comments or questions? Commissioner Jones?
Just that we appreciate the fact that the American Legion has been willing to host this. And I think it is important that we move quickly to rectify the situation. I am kind of curious, do they have to be on wooden poles? Or is that just a preference? Or
So it's just part of the process. By the time a pole wears out, usually the whole siren does.
Yeah.
So it's a cost thing, and it's also a lightning preference as well, because lightning on a wood pole does a little less damage because you're just going to ruin some of the internal components and not necessarily the whole entire siren on a wooden pole versus a metal pole.
yeah. Thank you.
Commissioner Thomas? Comments or questions?
No questions, thank you.
I also was questioning the wooden pole, and is there any way to keep the woodpeckers from attacking the new one?
Well, it's less appealing. So the woodpeckers are going for the bugs. It's for the food source.
Right.
And a treated pole that's brand new is less appealing for bugs than an old one that loses the treatment value over time.
Thank you. Quite informative. Yeah. Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, Mr. Cockrell, would you call the roll on the ERS wireless federal warning siren quote?
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Githens.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Motion is approved, 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Move approval of ratification of a grant agreement for public health emergency preparedness. Fund name, Public Health Emergency Preparedness. Fund number 8104 in the amount of $25,000.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and we have Ms. Kelly back with us.
Yes, commissioners, this is just a standard grant that the department has been receiving for several years now. This is $25,000 that helps to support a part-time assistant for our full-time preparedness coordinator, as well as covering supplies and services related to public health emergencies.
Thank you. Comments or questions?
No, I don't.
Commissioner Thomas?
No questions, thanks.
I don't have any. Is there any public comment on this item? I have to remember to look at the board here in front of us too. Seeing no public comment, Mr. Cockrell, would you please call the roll on ratification of grant agreement for public health emergency preparedness?
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Githens.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Motion is approved, 3-0.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly. Next item.
Move approval to amend the Bluestone Service Agreement. Fund name, County General and Parks non-reverting. Fund numbers 1000, 1178, and 1179 in an amount not to exceed $60,000.
Second.
Thank you. And we have Ms. Kelly, or Ms. Whitmer here. It's Kelly Whitmer, but yes.
Both names will do. Good morning. I also brought this is Jacob Trusty, our new naturalist, and he's here if you have any questions about bats. And we are very lucky. He has come to us from the National Park Service. So we're very fortunate to have him. So if you have a bat question, please, Jacob has done some little studying to answer your questions. The Bluestone Agreement, we're asking for it to be amended because this doesn't expire to July of 2025. This gets us through this storm season, this Greenway tree season, and then it'll get us through another storm season, and if we have to take a couple more trees down. So that's why we're asking for the storm kind of put us behind.
Comments or questions?
No, makes sense to me.
Okay. Commissioner Thomas?
No questions, great to meet you.
Yes. Jacob, I missed last month's, earlier this month's Parks Board meeting, and so it's nice to meet you in person. Would you like to explain to the public what the issue is surrounding bats?
Yeah, so there are a lot of trees that need to be felled at a certain time of year. This can't happen during the summer or the beginning of fall because the bats are actively using these trees. But in the winter, starting in October all the way through April, these bats will be hibernating in caves and mines in the area. So it's a good time to cut any trees that might pose a risk to safety for the public, or just clearing more access for these bats. There's two types of bats that are endangered in the state of Indiana. There's the long-eared bat and the Indiana bat. So it's just to preserve their habitat for their summer uses. And we want to make sure that when we clear these areas that we're not incidentally taking any sort of bats that might be using them at the time.
Good. This is when they're nesting and...
Yeah, they nest in the winter, and then in the summer they use kind of like more shaggier bark to kind of put up for the night. So they'll be using these trees during this time of the year, but at the end of September, they'll start heading back to caves and mines. So it's a good time to harvest any of those trees that we went to during that time.
Thank you. Did you have something else?
Would you inform the public about why bats are so beneficial and it's important that we protect them?
Yeah. So any species has inherent value. It has evolved over time to fit our ecosystem out here. Especially bats are insectivores. So a lot of people put purple martins houses up in their yard and tried to find a way to avoid flying insect pests like mosquitoes. Bats can eat about 100% of their body weight of mosquitoes each night, which is a little bit more efficient than purple martins and other insectivores. So just for comfortability, for any sort of illnesses that might come from flying insects, these bats pose as a reliable predator and preventer of any sort of illnesses that come from that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is there any public comment on this item? Oh, anything else that you wanted to add? Question? Okay. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, Mr. Cockrell, would you call the roll to amend the Bluestone Service Agreement, please?
Commissioner Thomas.
Yes.
Commissioner Githens.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Motion is approved, 3-0.
Thank you, Ms. Whitmer and Mr. Trustee. Next item.
Move approval of Graber Post Building Service Agreement, Fund Name County General and Parks Non-Reverting, Fund Numbers 1000, 1178, and 1179, in an amount not to exceed $10,500.
Second.
Again, we have Ms. Whitmer.
Yes, this is from that large storm we had, and two of our roofs at Cars Farm Park on our restrooms took damage, and the park board deemed it, we don't want holes in our restrooms, so we have hired Graber Post Buildings not to exceed $10,500 in case they find some more damage in there. So it's more who wants a hole in their restroom.
Comments or questions, Commissioner Jones?
No, I don't.
Commissioner Thomas?
No questions.
I had expected to see a picture in my packet, and then I just didn't, It's...
Well, visualize a blue tarp.
Yeah, I saw that in one of my neighbors' houses, yeah. Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, Mr. Cockrell, would you please call the roll on the Graber Post Building Service Agreement?
Commissioner Thomas.
Yes.
Commissioner Githens.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Motion is approved, 3-0.
Next item.
Move approval of Strasser Construction Company, Inc. service agreement. Fund names, County General, Parks Non-Reverting, 2021 GO Bond and 2022 GO Bond. Fund numbers 1,000, 1178, 1179, 4814, and 4815, in an amount not to exceed $450,200.
And we
Second.
Oh, thank you. We have Ms. Whitmer again.
Yes, this is a very exciting project. It has taken 2 years, but hey, who doesn't want to wait for a new restroom? It's going to be a new prefab restroom. It also includes the demo of the old pit toilets, ADA access routes, utilities to the restroom in the maintenance building, and a facility conversion. And what this is that we will end up with 3 pickleball courts and 1 high school basketball court and another short goal. So with the new playground, it is going to be absolutely fantastic. It will probably be done, because it takes anywhere from 6 to 12 months to get the prefab restroom. So best case scenario, in the spring, we'll be done, ready to play. I wanted to thank the commissioners, the council, and the park board, because we had to put together a lot of funds to make this happen. But right now, we have no flushing toilets or running sink water. So this is quite an improvement in everyone's lives who come visit that park.
Mr. Jones.
Yes, that does sound like a major improvement. I'm glad that you were able to put it together.
Commissioner Thomas.
Good work. And yes, the park's always getting better out there. Thank you.
It's a beautiful park out there, and the new playground is really, really nice. And so I'm glad that we're able to do these other upgrades. And I know that there were some issues with drainage and all that's getting taken care of also.
Well, the playground is packed all the time. So with that comes a new restroom because we have more users. We're also making improvements within the internal trail system of the park too. And Flatwoods Park will become a trailhead, hopefully, for a future trail that goes to McCormick's Creek State Park into Spencer. It will also be hooked to Ellettsville, into Cars Farm Greenway, into Bloomington. So it's in the future, but it's not that far off.
Yeah. And we are working on trying to get you another member for the Parks Board. So.
Yes, thank you.
Is there any public comment on this item? I do want to say thank you to the Parks Board, too, for making sure that this is taking place. So with that, Mr. Cocker, would you please call the roll on the Strasser Construction Company, Inc. service agreement?
Commissioner Thomas.
Yes.
Commissioner Githens.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Motion is approved, 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Move approval of matrix integration cable installation for the Sheriff's Office. Fund name, cumulative capital, fund number 1138, in the amount of $1,317.95.
Second.
And we have Mr. Crone here with us. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. This first one's pretty straightforward. The office administrator for the Sheriff's Department's taken on some duties that require to access the IDAX system, which is the Indiana Data and Communication System that allows them to communicate with the Criminal Justice Center. So in order to do that, that's a closed loop system that needs additional wiring in order to be able to have an IDAX terminal located in the office administrator's office. So that's what this request is for, is to get a new run of data cable from the IDAX server into the office administrator's office.
Thank you. Comments or questions? Commissioner Jones?
No, I don't.
Commissioner Thomas?
No questions. Thank you.
Yeah, it makes sense to do this. I just wish we were already in a new facility so we didn't have to do these kinds of things. But with that, we live with what we have. So is there any public comment on this? Seeing none, Mr. Cocker, would you please call a roll on the matrix integration cable installation for the Sheriff's Office?
Commissioner Thomas.
Yes.
Commissioner Githens.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Motion is approved, 3-0.
Next item, please.
Move approval of the Rico copier lease agreement, fund name, cumulative capital, fund number, 1138, in the amount of $3,592.92.
Second.
Again, we have Mr. Crone.
Okay. So we had 2 more copiers that just came up at the end of their fair market value leases, which enables us to then buy those out on a 12-month refi with a $1 buyout at the end of that 12 months. Then we own the equipment. At that point, we will own all of our Rico copiers that still exist in our fleet. One thing to note on this, the amount of $35.92 does not reflect that $2 buyout. The last time I submitted for one of these, we added that, and because the contract value didn't add up to that, that was stricken out, and just that contract value was added. So the total for that, including the $1 buyout for those 2 units, would be $3,594.92. One thing that's a little bit different about this Rico buyout than we've previously been offered in other buyouts. Normally, whenever you do a buyout for that 12 months, you're still under a service agreement that has a monthly charge baked in. So whether you use the service, require toner or anything or not, you're paying a monthly charge to have that ability. With this buyout, we only pay as we go. So if we order toner, if we order service, then we pay for it at the same service rate as what was the originally charged to us on a monthly basis. So that actually helps us save about $1,000 a unit, assuming we don't have maintenance needs every single month. So this one works a little bit different, works in our behalf, better than the other buyouts have worked. So I was glad to see Rico come out and make that change. Like I said, once this is done, our copier fleet inventory will be broken down into 2 groups. We'll have Toshiba copiers all under lease that are new, and then we'll have our Rico machines that will all be owned, that we can keep on for a few more years until we need to start phasing out those machines due to age and wear.
So the actual total then is $3,594.92. Is that correct?
That is correct, Commissioner.
Do you wish to amend your motion?
Yes. I would like to amend my motion to reflect the amount of $3,594.92.
Second.
Right. So we're at the right number, I hope, at this point then.
No, we are.
Yeah. This is nice that you're working to get these kinds of contracts going. I really appreciate that. Any other comments or questions?
I was just wondering about what the lifespan is of a Rico copier and how many years it might have left.
10 years is typically the max, but it also depends on load. We have some copiers, for instance, out at our fairgrounds for extension office, it only sees a couple of months worth of use versus our copiers sitting in, say, the jail that's getting ran hard every day. So typically they're set up on several million page duty cycle. It's how long does it take you to get there? So 5 to 10 years typically is the maximum that you're going to get out of one of these business machines before you need to start looking to replace it.
And then how long have we had them?
These 2 that's on these, we've had a total of 7 years on both of them. So that's why I want to go ahead. I don't want to have us under a lease for all or a majority of our copiers. We have roughly 70 in our total inventory. So I'm trying to get that where we only have half under lease and half that we own. So if I can get the additional 3 years out of these as planned, that will get us towards the end of our Toshiba lease agreements, and then we can start looking at replacing the other 35 and bringing them on lease. That way we keep our lease costs roughly the same every year.
Thank you.
Excellent. Commissioner Thomas, questions or comments?
No questions. Thank you.
Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, Mr. Cockrell, would you please call the roll for the Rico copier lease agreement?
Commissioner Thomas.
Yes.
Commissioner Githens.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Motion is approved, 3-0.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Thank you very much.
Next item, please.
find my place. Okay. Move approval of Belcher Fencing LLC service agreement for the Convention Center. Fund name, ARPA. Fund number, 8950, in the amount of $760.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Kreider.
Good morning, Commissioners. Richard Kreider, Facilities and Fleet. The new cooling tower for the Convention Center arrived on site earlier than expected. This resulted in the need to have a security fence installed around the tower until the install date. This request is to ratify the proposal submitted by Belcher Fencing LLC in the amount of $760 for rental and installation of temporary construction fence to secure the new cooling tower while it was staged in the Monroe County Convention Center parking lot.
Comments or questions?
No, it makes sense.
Mr. Thomas?
No questions.
Yeah, it's what's going on there is badly needed. It's what they've had has outlived its useful life by many years, I think. So I'm glad that we're able to move forward on this. I appreciate your work on it. Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, Mr. Cockrell, would you please call the roll for the Belcher Fencing LLC service agreement for the Convention Center?
Commissioner Thomas.
Yes.
Commissioner Githens.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Motion is approved, 3-0.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Move to amend the Deckard Land Surveying Agreement, Fund name, Surveyor Corner, Fund number 1202, in the amount not to exceed $28,902.49.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and we have Surveyor Enright Randolph here to walk us through this.
Yes, hi. It's pretty cut and dry. We've been doing these service agreements for a number of years. We went with a flat rate per corner. We realized that wasn't the best approach because you never know what you're going to encounter on the field. So we started going to more of an hourly rate structure. The first go around, a couple of these contracts came under the not to exceed. This go around, this one came above, and I have always anticipated, and I think I've always alluded to the possibility of that happening too as I discussed this. So essentially, there was more work being performed that exceeded the $25,000 that was approved, and so I'm just asking to amend this to the $28,902.49 to compensate Deckard Land Surveying for the work that they performed. And a side note, if I get your support today, we'll be taking the section corners to the review board next month for approval. So,
Great. Comments or questions? Commissioner Jones?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Commissioner Thomas?
No questions.
Yeah, I can see where if you're climbing over fences and encountering a lot of brush and other things, that it could delay you some.
yeah, my favorite story to share is when we were, and this is when I was chief deputy, we were perpetuating a section corner and we had to get over a fence, so we hopped it. Ended up being a bullpen. So once we saw that bull, we hopped right back out and figured out a new way to get there. So yeah, you never know what you're going to encounter.
That's great. Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, Mr. Cockrell, would you please call the roll to amend the Deckard Land Surveying Agreement?
Commissioner Thomas.
Yes.
Commissioner Githens.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Motion is approved, 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item.
Move approval of the Safe Place Grant Agreement renewal, Fund name 1504 Safe Place Grant, Fund number 9103, in a grant amount of $9,880 per year for 2 years.
Good morning.
Second.
Sorry, Vanessa couldn't be here. So I'm Jessica Brown. I'm the Safe Place and YSB Outreach Manager. But basically, this is just the continuation of our Safe Place contract between the YSB and Safe Place. And it's just a contract that will run from January 1st, it'll backdate, and then from 2024 to June 30th of 2026.
Thank you. Comments or questions?
I'm happy to renew this. This is an important thing for our community.
Commissioner Tom?
Great program. Thank you.
I'll note also that this isn't just Monroe County, that you cover
Yes.
4 counties with this. It's Monroe, Owen, is it Greene and Lawrence?
It's actually not Lawrence Brown.
Okay.
But yes, we do cover 4 counties.
Right. And the whole concept of safe place is important. So, yeah, the youth in our community. Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, Mr. Cockrell, please call the roll for Safe Place Grant Agreement Renewal.
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Githens,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Motion is approved, 3-0.
Thank you, Ms. Brown.
Commissioners.
Thank you. Next item.
Move approval of the ARPA sub-recipient policy and amendment to Resolution 2023-06. Fund name, ARPA, Fund number 8950.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and I believe we have Auditor Gregory here for this.
Yes, thank you. So we brought this to you back in September of last year. It was a very large, broad policy. We've since utilized our ARPA administrative consultants, and they've reviewed and advised that we narrow the scope so that we can more easily fulfill all responsibility and requirements set out in the plan. So I'm just asking your approval of the amended policy.
Comments or questions? Commissioner Jones?
No, I don't.
Commissioner Thomas?
No questions. It made lots of sense. Thank you.
It was pretty dense reading through it all. So
Yes.
I hope that you are on top of this, because you wouldn't want me to be there.
We're on it.
I appreciate that. You have great staff as well. Really do.
Very lucky.
Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, Mr. Cockrell, would you please call a roll for the ARPA subrecipient policy and amendment to Resolution 2023-6?
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Githens.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Motion is approved, 3-0.
Thank you. Next item.
Move approval of the American Rescue Plan Act Policy Revision Number 9. Fund name, American Rescue Act Fund, Fund number 8950.
Second.
And we have Mr. Cockrell to talk with us about these.
Yes, this is hopefully no new news to you guys. This should reflect the changes that were made at the last ARPA meeting. We did add a payment classification line to each, and that's for mostly for auditors, bookkeeping, and making sure we are running things through. The one item I will point out that we really that was not part of that meeting, but I think has been approved has been approved for funding by the council is number 42, emergency response, storm debris removal. We talked about this a few weeks ago. Technically, it wasn't part of that meeting, but I think it's been discussed with you, and the council has approved the funding for it as well. So I just kind of wanted to point that one out as maybe the thing that was not discussed at that meeting, but I think we all understand that we had an emergency that we had to deal with. Otherwise, it should just reflect that. It includes the Steinsville project for the repairing their sewage, sponsoring 8 Habitat for Humanity homes, Courage for Change, addiction and housing purposes, and jail locks. So those are kind of the new projects that are included in it.
Thank you. Comments or questions? Commissioner Jones?
No, I don't.
Commissioner Thomas?
No questions.
I'm actually pleased that we're able to take care of the tree removal debris, and that we didn't have to slow it down by meeting for joint session, so that's good. Any public comment on this? Seeing none, Mr. Cockrell, would you please call the roll for the American Rescue Plan Act Policy Revision Number 9?
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Githens,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Motion is approved, 3-0.
Thank you. Next item.
Move approval of the Town of Ellettsville MOU agreement to purchase a new ladder truck. Fund name, Westside TIF, fund number 4920, in the amount of $2,494,952.80 over 5 years.
Second.
And we have Mr. Cockrell to explain this one.
Yes, the Town of Ellisville and the Redevelopment Commission have been working together on fire protection, particularly in the West Side TIF area, for 2 to 3 decades. Before I worked with the county, I don't have the exact date, the county purchased a ladder truck to help to be located at the Curry Pike Station to help with the fire protection for some of the larger buildings in the West Side TIF. The Cook Building, the Ivy Tech buildings, so they're just larger than was typically seen there. Well, that vehicle is kind of at the end of its, Chief Patton would describe it as you've got your starters and you've got your backups. That vehicle is no longer a starter and it's going to be used as a backup. And so this is an agreement for the Redevelopment Commission to help the Town of Ellettsville purchase a new ladder truck to kind of continue that purpose. The Redevelopment Commission's been basically talking about it for probably a year and a half, trying to figure out if the cash flow was going to work for it. With this year's annual reports and really reviewing that, we've determined that it is, and so this is kind of the agreement. I will say that if at any point in time the Redevelopment Commission has a windfall of cash, they can pay this off early and kind of cut off the debt payment. But this is structured similar in nature to how we handled the payments through the school system over there, and that if a bond payment's in jeopardy, then this will get shorted. So that protection's in there, but I think it was supported unanimously by the Redevelopment Commission. It has been approved by the Town of Ellettsville as well.
Comments or questions? Commissioner Jones?
No, I don't.
Commissioner Thomas?
No questions.
I was shocked at the sticker price on this. I had no idea that this kind of the ladder truck would cost that much, but having gone up in the ladder with Ms. Rich, I'm glad that we're able to make sure that our folks are safe. But I will note too that this is being paid every 6 months across the 5 years, and that covers both principal and interest on it. So.
Correct, and if you want to be shocked by the amount, it's also got essentially a 3 to 4 year wait time until it's delivered. So I found that as shocking as the amount.
Any public comment on this item? Seeing none, Mr. Cockrell, would you please call the roll on the Town of Ellettsville MOU agreement to purchase a new ladder truck?
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Githens?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Motion is approved, 3-0.
Next item, please. Next item, sorry.
Move approval of Resolution 2024-27, outlining remonstration requirements for the expansion of the Monroe Fire Protection District.
Second.
Again, Mr. Cockrell.
Yes, and the actual document will have a few changes. There are a few typos that were in this document that will be corrected. The first whereas clause will read, the Monroe County Fire Protection District with the Bean Blossom Township trustee have requested that the township be included in the fire protection district. It will also, on the Exhibit A, it will indicate that the merger of the Bean Blossom Township Steinsville Volunteer Fire Department will be what's read on it, because that's the actual name of the entity. essentially this is designed to kind of mimic everything that we've done with the other expansions of this. I think in the initial case, it was seen as both a financial and a burden to the residents to have each of the townships who are currently members of it have to fill out the postcard and mail it back. So what the plan has been and what's exemplified in here is that has to happen in this case Bean Blossom Township. They will have to follow those statutory guidelines where they'll get the cards and have the people fill out so that you have a demonstration that the township is interested in joining the fire protection district. But there's also a second where if 50 members anywhere within the district, including the territory being added, voice a remonstration, let them know that they do not want this to occur, then that will trigger a public hearing as well. So the residents will know, because there'll be at least three public meetings that are noticed in accordance with the state law and then there'll be presentations on, what it means financially, what it means service-wise, and things of that nature. I believe that the trustee is here if you want to hear from him on his thoughts.
Yes, please. Mr. Hudson, right?
Yes, Mr. Hudson, Ron Hudson, Bean Blossom Township. I just want to say that I respectfully ask the commissioners to accept this and approve this, that I can contact my constituents and do a polling. And if you have any questions, I can answer some. So.
Mr. Jones?
No, actually, I don't have any questions, but I'm very happy that we're going to be able to do this for you.
I appreciate it.
Mr. Thomas?
Yeah, I'm really excited for the residents of Bean Blossom Township. I have a question for Mr. Cockrell regarding notice, and it goes to all residents of Bean Blossom Township, including Steinsville, correct?
Well, the notice, I guess I want to make sure I'm clear. There are two different notices. There are notices for a public hearing, which will be published in accordance with how government has to publish things. But then there is also this is exemplified in Exhibit A on this, a kind of a mailer that it will be a postcard size that I believe will be sent to each resident of that township, including those within the town of Steinsville, probably excluding those that are within the town of Ellettsville. So I do think there's a little bit of Ellettsville and Bean Blossom now. And so they would get those that are currently served by that volunteer fire department, and then they would be able to voice it, and then the numbers represent, and I don't know how big the township is, so it's either 20% or 500, whichever is more, will have to come through and look at that.
Right. Thank you. And there's still a typo in the third whereas. Thank you.
Yeah, I emailed him about that this morning. Yeah. So I do have a question. What's the timeline for this? Will we start immediately, or how quickly will this be done?
Yes, I've already, I have made contact with Baker Tilly to do the study, which will do a impact study on the township. And I have not contracted with them yet because of the prices they sent me. So I have to speak with her and do a little more clarifying on that, because the prices she sent me was upwards of $15,000 plus. I would have to come up with postage and everything for the mailers, so which we have it in. We can do that out of our general fund, but I just don't want to do any more than we have to. So, and I believe that only property owners can vote on it, yea or nay. So
Right. It's the people that pay the taxes. Yes.
so I have to.
It's the people that pay the taxes on the property.
Yes, the taxpayers.
Yes, yes. I feel like with the fire district that we've greatly enhanced fire protection throughout the existing district at this point. And of course, now it's been expanded to include 2 ambulances, and soon we hope to add another 2. So I think so far, people that have actually joined the district are pleased with what's going on.
Yes.
So I think what was most striking to me is when we were out at Van Buren going through this process, the people who were part of their fire department were strongly in favor of joining. So
I have spoken with Rita and with Michelle over at Benton, and they both said things got a little dicey when it came to the mailers. So,
right. Is there any public comment on this item? Any other questions, comments from my colleagues? If not, I will ask Mr. Cockrell to call for a vote on Resolution 2024-27, outlining the demonstration requirements for the expansion of the Monroe Fire Protection District.
Commissioner Thomas.
Yes.
Commissioner Githens.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Motion is approved, 3-0.
Thank you very much. And on to the next item.
Move approval of NDOT change order number 1 for Sunrise Greetings / Vernal Pike extension to Gates Drive. Fund name, Vernal Pike Connector, fund number 8165, in the amount of $6,768.60.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and Ms. Ridge is here.
Good morning. So the change order is to add a pay item for subgrade treatment type 1C. It was unintentionally omitted in the bid documents when it went to bid with NDOT and hiring the contractor. So we're just adding that item into the line items, pay items.
Comments or questions?
Yeah, I was just kind of curious if there's a projected finish date, more or less.
Pardon me?
A date for it to be finished.
It'll be in 2025. Probably
Thank you.
Late summer.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Comments or questions? Commissioner Thomas?
No questions. Thank you.
I'm pleased that changing this isn't going to extend the completion time.
Nothing yet at this time.
Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, Mr. Cocker, would you please call the roll for the NDOT change order number 1 for Sunrise Greetings Vernal Pike extension to Gates Drive?
Commissioner Thomas.
Yes.
Commissioner Githens.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Motion is approved, 3-0.
Next item.
Move approval of the Terracon Agreements extension for construction inspection for Vernal Pike Connector Road Project. Fund name, West TIF, fund number 4920, in an amount not to exceed $4,523.88.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
And again, Ms. Ridge.
So you had previously approved a Terracon agreement for the inspections of our MSE walls that's being built on this project. We needed to add on a possible 3 more days at the most while this is being constructed. So this is just to add on to that agreement.
Comments or questions?
No, I don't.
Commissioner Thomas?
No questions.
Yeah, I assume that this is a safety feature, so.
Yeah, just taking an extra step. Terracon was the original geotech company for the project with the design team. So it's kind of using their source for the contractor's geotech firm that's building it, just to make sure it's all being built as designed.
Excellent. Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, Mr. Cocker, would you please call the roll for the Terracon agreement extension?
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Githens,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Motion is approved, 3-0.
Next item.
Move approval to award EMB paving for bridge repair on South Old State Road 37, Harrodsburg. Fund name, Cumulative Bridge, Fund number 1135, in the amount of $43,300.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Ridge.
So we received 3 quotes for this bridge deck repair in Harrodsburg. EMB Paving was the lowest, most responsible and responsive contractor. The work is to add some grout to the approach of the bridge to help kind of leveling. If you've driven it and you've hit that bump, you're going to know exactly where it's at. So it's basically to bring that asphalt and that bridge approach to the same level to where we don't have that hump in the roadway.
Comments or questions?
Good plan.
Commissioner Thomas?
Nope, no questions. Thank you.
It always amazes me how expensive roads are. So not just building them, but maintaining them. Is there any public comment on this item? See none. Mr. Cockrell, would you please call the roll for the award of EMB paving for the bridge repair on South Old State Road 37?
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Githens,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Motion is approved, 3-0.
Thank you. Next item.
Move approval of the NDOT right-of-way reimbursement for Eagleson Bridge number 922. Fund number Eagleson Bridge number 922, fund number 8176, in the amount of $15,840.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Ridge.
So this is actually for the 80% reimbursement to start engineering services for the right-of-way acquisition for this bridge replacement. The design of the bridge was under NDOT's contract, and they paid 100% of the design of this bridge. And then we'll move into taking over absorbing some of those costs for this replacement.
Comments or question?
No, I don't.
Commissioner Thomas?
No questions.
And this is basically within the IU campus?
Correct. It was a bridge that was previously owned by NDOT. It needed replaced, so it was never accepted into our inventory. So we kind of worked out a deal with NDOT on some other projects that if we took over project management of it, then once it's replaced, it would be part of our inventory.
Thank you. Any public comment on this item? Seeing none, Mr. Cocker, would you please call the roll for NDOT right-of-way reimbursement for Eagleson Bridge number 922?
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Githens,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Motion is approved, 3-0.
Next item.
Move approval of USI Consultants Inc. preliminary engineering agreement for replacement of Business 37 North Bridge number 913. Fund name Business 37 North Bridge number 913. Fund number to be determined, in the amount of $9,07600.
$900,000.
Yes,
900,000.
$970,600.
Right. It takes a team.
I think
We're
my
good.
brain is
There you go,
fine on
second.
numbers.
We're good. We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Ms. Ridge.
So Monroe County submitted this project in their NDOT's last notice of funding availability call for fiscal year 2029. So it was awarded the project, I believe it would have been around February, March. At that point, we send out RFPs through the NDOT portal. We received those RFPs back. We score them according to NDOT's process, and USI was the highest score. NDOT reviews our scoring and approves that, and so we'd like to begin the design of the project with the contract entering with USI.
Comments or questions?
No, I don't.
Commissioner Thomas?
No questions. Thank you.
Hope you'll still be around in fiscal year 29 to oversee
Pardon me?
this. I hope you'll still be around in fiscal year.
That is very debatable. Now we're getting out there to probably won't be here at the finishing of these projects.
Again, it amazes me the timelines and the planning that has to go into these kinds of projects. So, yeah. Is there any public comment on this question, on this item? Seeing none, Mr. Cockrell, would you please call the roll for the USI Consultancy Preliminary Engineering Agreement for the replacement of Business 37 North Bridge number 913?
Commissioner Thomas.
Yes.
Commissioner Githens.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Motion is approved, 3-0.
Thank you. Next item.
Move approval of American Structure Point, Inc. Amendment Number 1 for Fullerton Pike Phase 3 land acquisition. Fund name Fullerton Pike Phase 3, fund number 8169, in the amount of negative $15,000.
Second.
Ms. Ridge.
So we have completed right-of-way acquisition, of course, because the project is underway for construction. We had a $15,000 balance on the right-of-way portion of that contract. And the next item, we're going to add that $15,000 to other services. So we're requesting to decrease it by the $15,000 so we can add it to the design of the project while it's being built.
Comments or questions, Commissioner Jones?
No, I don't.
Commissioner Thomas?
Well, for fear of getting ahead of ourselves, so item U should not be a negative $15,000. It's a positive $15,000.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. I sent that to Anita and it wasn't in the agenda. Thank you.
I sent it to her also, so.
I did too.
We caught it.
I corrected it.
No. No, it's for the next item that,
Yes.
yeah. So, so is there any public comment on this, or any public comment on this item? Pleased to see this going forward, I must say. So, since there's no public comment, Mr. Cockrell, would you please call the roll for item T, American Structure Point, Inc. Amendment Number 1 for Fullerton Pike Phase 3 land acquisition?
Commissioner Thomas.
Yes.
Commissioner Githens.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Motion is approved, 3-0.
Next item.
Move approval of American Structure Point, Inc. Amendment Number 3 for Fullerton Pike Phase 3 preliminary engineering services. Fund name Fullerton Pike Phase 3, fund number 8169, in the amount of $15,000.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for a positive $15,000. Ms. Ridge.
Yes, so we are keeping the design team on board as the project's being constructed, just in case we need to reach out for additional design questions. So it's moving that $15,000 from right-of-way into preliminary engineering.
Questions, comments?
No, I don't.
Commissioner Jones, or Commissioner Thomas, looking up the screen.
No questions. Thanks.
I don't either. It seems like a good use of the money, so appreciate you doing these things. Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, Mr. Cockrell, would you please call the roll for the American Structure Point, Inc. Amendment Number 3 for Fullerton Pike Phase 3 preliminary engineering services?
Commissioner Thomas.
Yes.
Commissioner Githens.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Motion is approved, 3-0.
Now we'll move on to the last item. I think it's number 22 on our agenda.
Move approval of ordinance 2024-25, Manana rezone.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and we have Mr. Brown here with us. Good morning.
My name is Dan Sear,
Oh,
and I'm also Daniel.
Okay.
So I represent the petitioner.
Okay, we will need to first have Mr. Brown kind of run through it,
Yes.
if possible, and then Mr. Steer will call you back up.
Thank you.
Mr. Brown?
So this is Hello?
Hi.
Thank you. So this is ordinance number 2024-25, also known as petition number REC-24-1. It's a Manana rezone from RE1 to LB. This concerns two parcels of 2.48 more or less acres in section 3 of the Van Buren Township at 5991 West State Road 48. So the purpose of this was to establish a convenience store use. Should the rezone be approved by the Monroe County Board of Commissioners, the petitioner intends to file a commercial site plan to be reviewed administratively by the planning department. The convenience store use is effectively going to be a gas station. If denied, the property will remain zoned as State Residential 1, where the uses of convenience store and gasoline service station are not permitted. The preliminary hearing for this by the Plan Commission for this petition was on April 16th of this year, and the final hearing by the Plan Commission was on May 21st. So the petition site is currently unplatted. It is on a corner lot of South State Road 48 and South Kirby Road, West State Road 48. The site is currently vacant. There is a water feature in the center of the property, and it is located in a critical drainage area. The zoning map amendment, as said before, will be from Estate Residential 1 to limited business. The zoning ordinance defines Estate Residential 1 as the intent of this district is to accommodate large lot estate type residential uses in a rural environment, along with limited compatible agricultural uses. It is meant specifically to A, accommodate those persons who desire estate type living, B, maintain a pattern that is consistent with the cost-efficient provision of urban services to promote compactness in city structure, C, provide for development in a rural setting, not necessarily requiring urban utilities, and D, provide for limited capable agricultural uses. Meanwhile, limited business is defined as the character of the limited business district is defined as that which is primarily intended to meet the essential businesses needs and convenience of neighboring residents. Limited business uses should be placed into cohesive groupings rather than on individual properties along the highways, and access control should be emphasized. Its purposes are to encourage the development of groups of non-residential uses that share common highway access and/or provide interior cross-access in order to allow traffic from one business to have access to another without having to enter the highway traffic, to discourage single-family residential uses, to protect environmentally sensitive areas such as floodplain, karst, and steep slopes, and to maintain the character of the surrounding neighborhood. Therefore, the number of uses permitted in the LB district is limited. Some uses are conditionally permitted. The conditions placed on these uses are to ensure their compatibility with the adjacent residential uses. And the definition of a convenience store in Chapter 802 of the zoning ordinance says that it is any retail establishment offering for sale prepackaged food products, household items, gasoline sales, newspapers and magazines, and sandwiches and other freshly prepared foods, such as salads, for off-site consumption. The maximum size for a convenience store is 3,500 square feet. During the preliminary hearing of the Plan Commission, the report stated that gasoline sales would be an accessory use. However, as shown in the definition above, convenience storage already permits gasoline sales. This was corrected in the final hearing for the Plan Commission. Also, during the final hearing, it was asked by the Plan Commission if the petitioner would be willing to sign a written commitment prohibiting the uses of boat storage and convenience storage on this property. A finalized version of that has been included in the packet. The written commitment itself details a total of 6 uses that the petitioner has agreed to prohibit being used on this lot. The first 2 were recommended by the Plan Commission, convenience storage and boat storage. The last 4 uses were added to the list of prohibited uses at the request of one of the Board of Commission members in a message to Planning Department staff, those being adult-oriented business, remote garbage/rubbish removal, dry cleaning and laundry pickup, and dry cleaning and laundry service. There was also a request for manufacturing and mining to be forbidden. I think that was in regards to the use table, which has manufacturing, mining, construction, and industrial uses. After discussing this with the planning director, it was decided that that would not be necessary, as all of the uses that would, in that category, that would be permitted in a limited business zone would be either conditional and thus have to be approved by the Board of Zoning Appeals, or would be accessory to another use. And here's the petitioner letter and letter of consent, as well as the location map and the current zoning map. It is surrounded by a state residential 1, a PUD, agricultural rural reserve, limited industrial, light industrial, and the airports. And here is a general site conditions map. This line here is showing sanitary sewer. There has been question about whether or not sewer can be obtained at this property, as well as a water feature right where my mouse cursor is. And the comprehensive plan does identify this as MCUA suburban residential. And here are just some site photos of the property as it is now. And here is a rough preliminary site plan of what they intend to do. Here will be the convenience store, and here will be the gasoline pumps, as well as a canopy covering them. And this is a list of the approved uses for estate residential 1 and the uses for limited business. And so the Plan Commission forwarded this petition to the county commissioners with a positive recommendation by a vote of 6-0, with the following condition of approval: that the site plan design is to delineate and preserve the wetland on the property. Staff recommends approval for the rezone request based on the findings of fact that the property is adjoining a comprehensive plan that is marked institutional to the west, that the property is approximate to non-residential uses, and the property is accessible to public utilities as well as public infrastructure, including sidewalks. This being subject to the following condition of approval: that the site plan design is to delineate and preserve the wetland on the property. Thank you very much.
Oops, I was holding the mute button down because of the feedback, sorry. Do you have any questions or comments, Commissioner Jones, or do you want to wait till later?
Are there any environmental constraints other than the wetlands?
Not that I'm aware of. The site is relatively flat. It's not in any area of the Lake Monroe watershed. It is, however, in a critical drainage area. I believe Kelsey Thetonia provided comments on that during the Plan Commission, and those are included in the formal packet.
Thank you.
Commissioner Thomas, do you have comments or questions?
Yes, a couple. First, this is very close to the airport, and there is an interest in not building additional housing this close to the airport. So this makes sense in terms of a rezone. The other thing is, I had a conversation with our MS4 operator, Ms. Thetonia, about the fact that there would be buried gas tanks in this critical watershed area. And she said it's something she is going to be looking at very carefully as the plan moves forward. So I just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
Thank you. I emailed Mr. Brown about this earlier, but it's been a week since we had our email conversation. Do you have anything yet from NDOT about whether or not they're approving 2 driveways off of West State Road 48?
I've been in communication with Daniel Sear, and he said that they have been in contact with NDOT, but they do not want to do a full traffic analysis without confirming that the rezone will be approved.
Okay, so they're waiting for us at this point. Okay. So now at this point, I always need to have a reminder, Mr. Cockle. Now we hear from the petitioner or the petitioner's representative.
Yes, you'll hear from the petitioner. There is no time limit on their presentation. Then you have 15 minutes for people who are in favor of the petition, 15 minutes for those who are against the petition, and then a rebuttal time for the petitioner.
Okay, so Mr. Steer, is that correct? And would you please sign in also so that we can correctly record your...
You've got my name perfectly.
Okay, thank you.
We did work closely with the planning department and Daniel Brown to address the concerns, and we understand that the stormwater is a major priority for the county, and we will work closely with that design. When that more detailed commercial site plan comes out, it will address the specific locations of the driveways, and we'll move forward with the traffic operations analysis. I just wanted to give a context. Our engineer believes that will cost $10,000 to $12,000, and we just wanted to understand if the rezone was approved before we go forward with paying for the traffic analysis. And that will tell us if the driveway is allowed. For all of the reasons that are already in the record, we think it is a good development for the county. We did provide the prohibited uses that we think will help provide a good update. So I don't really have anything further to say for the petitioner.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions for Mr. Steer?
Not at this time.
Commissioner Thomas, do you have any questions?
Actually, it's not a question for the petitioner, but thank you for being here. I just do want to say that the reason we've been concerned about some of the uses in limited business is that this is really a gateway into Monroe County. And so we appreciate the petitioner's willingness to be flexible on that. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you.
It's right next to it. And of course, you already have one driveway off of the state road. So that's good. So is there anyone present, and if TSD could help us with a timer at this point, if there's anyone who wishes to speak in favor of this petition, please let us know. You can do it either virtually or here in the Nat U Hill room. Seeing none, is there anyone who wishes to speak against this petition? Again, either in person or in the Nat U Hill room. I can't see if there's anybody that has their hand up because it's not showing up on our screen. TSD, can you tell me if there's anyone with their hand up? I don't know who CT is.
I don't see anyone with their hand raised.
Okay, appreciate that. Thank you very much. So at this point, do you have any other questions for the petitioner, Commissioner Jones?
No, I don't.
Commissioner Thomas, do you have any other questions?
No, thank you.
I have none either. So, Mr. Cockrell, would you please call the roll on the ordinance 2024-25, the Menania rezone?
Commissioner Thomas.
Yes.
Commissioner Githens.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Motion is approved, 3-0.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Mr. Steer, for showing up and talking with us. Appreciate that. Okay. we have nothing else on our agenda, so I'll move to announcements. I'll remind everyone that free COVID testing is still available at the Health Department at 119 West 7th Street, as well as at the Public Health Clinic at 333 East Miller Drive. We are accepting applications for boards and commissioners. We really do need an additional person on our redevelopment commission. You can apply at co.monroe.in.us. You can go there for more information or to fill out an application. We also need folks to apply to serve on the opioid settlement allocation committee that we've formed for the disbursement of some of the federal or some of the opioid settlement dollars that we've been given. I'll remind everyone that the commissioners have virtual office hours via Team. Those occur 6 different times during the month. Again, go to our calendar at co.monroe.in.us and you'll find the dates and times. You can just click on it and you'll be talking with one of us. We are continuing to hold blood drives in conjunction with the Red Cross. We want to thank Ivy Tech, who hosts these things for us out at Shreve Hall. The upcoming dates are Wednesday, August the 28th from 1 to 6, Thursday, August 29th from 10 to 3, Thursday, September the 5th from 1 to 6, and Friday, September the 6th from 10 to 3. Residents, we've done a lot of stuff today related to the storm damage that occurred, and I'll remind people that they can sign up for Monroe County Alert Notification System at our website also. And you can also there find the schedule for when that cleanup will occur. We're still at least looking at applications for the township assistance. We've extended the assistance fund for county residents who need assistance in paying for rent or utilities. And at this point, I believe we've used most of our money for the rural housing repair, but in the event that we come up with extra money, it wouldn't hurt if you want to go ahead and make that application. You would do that through your township trustee, except for the folks who live in Perry Township. That is, for those folks, they can apply directly to Angie Purdy in the commissioner's office. I don't have anything else. Do you have anything? No, I don't. For the good of the order, Commissioner Thomas?
Yes, so we do have additional funds for rural housing repair available, so please apply.
Excellent, thank you. That's important. Somebody was in the office a couple days ago asking about things and how to get that application in. So that's good. Well, with that, I didn't see anything on our work session. Do you have anything for us for a work session, Mr. Cockrell?
I do not.
Good. Well, with that, we will adjourn and we'll see you back here next Wednesday at 10 a.m. on August the 7th. Thank you, everyone, for your patience with this long agenda today.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for hosting me virtually.